talk about the bigger picture. Let's talk about how we be ballin', playing with the Wizards. Let's talk about the Nats and how they always got good pictures. Let's talk about the cats how Rex can turn them boys to winners. Injuries and updates, oh yeah. To the opponent, we stand toe to toe, yeah. To the top, this podcast gonna go, yeah. I think it's something you should know, yeah.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry, and I'm all by myself. Yes, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately. Actually, it's good things why these guys are going to be gone. But Stoner is out traveling. He is actually in the future, and I think he might be lurking in our chat right there. So you can comment with him as the show goes on. But he's traveling abroad, go see his family. It's been a long time since he's been with them, and so we're happy for him to be able to get that family time in. Trev couldn't make tonight's show. He's out there getting that paper, making sure that his dreams will be a reality. Hopefully we have some big announcements on that front coming hopefully within the next month or so. We'll see. Fingers crossed for our man Trev. So you would normally just be stuck with me, but no one really wants to listen to me. I think I'm your least favorite host, but that's all right, because I'm going to be bringing on with me today none other than the host of First String Podcast, a show that is so fun, it just might be illegal. Welcome, Toothpick, to the show as our guest hosts for today's episode. Thank you, Toothpick. First String Podcast. Check them out if you haven't already. They have a YouTube channel sponsored by Bet Rivers. Got a lot of good stuff going on over there. Pick, how you doing, my man?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me on. Listen, I know my guy Stoner came over to the podcast, and if he's on the run from the police, it's okay. it's okay, So, if Stoner's, dipping and dodging the guys, we don't talk to the popo. That's one of the things we always say over there. And then Trev, I know Trev is doing big things, man. I miss him. Salute, Trev. Hopefully everything works out. And I'm looking forward to that big announcement, man. How are you, though, Nate?
I'm hanging in there. I'm having some fun, but I might not be having as much fun as you talking about Stoner running from the popo. I tell you who he's not running from. He's not running from those Florida Panther fans that decided to come after Ref the District on Twitter, and none too happy with his Stoner recaps. So he's been doing some little shows for us on the Capitals as they're in the playoffs right now. 2-2 series. They play tonight.
Yes.
Florida fans haven't been showing up to the games. Now they've been showing out for the playoffs, but Stoner liked to bring that fact up during one of these Stoner recaps, and they are coming for him. And he's not backing down. He is taking all of it. You can see Stoner is in the chat on the Ref the District here. We also have Carlton and Kenneth already joining us. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining us. And we got a great show for you here today, because Pick and I are going to be going over in the cool down what we think or what we expect of the Washington Commanders 2022 schedule. For the game today, we are going to be talking about that rookie minicamp and what we expect from the Washington Commanders rookies. And then here in the warm-up, we're actually going to be talking about the sophomore season of the Commanders picks, which might be even more exciting than the rookies in that regard, because maybe there's some big expectations from those players we took last year. Make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel. We are sponsored by Pacers Running. For every run, they've got you taken care of. All right, Pick, let's get in here, man.
Hold on first. Stoner made a big boo-boo, right? Stoner, when you're on the run, you cannot tell people where you are. Right? You can't do that. So you got to go in there and say you're somewhere else, Stoner. So if you're in Jamaica, Tokyo's fine. But if you're actually in Tokyo, you got to say you're in Jamaica.
Can't do that, man. Got to pull out the cash, pay for everything in cash.
Right.
Yeah, he's such a rookie. He's going to get himself caught before he gets to go see his family. So, Pick, let's get to these sophomore Washington Commander picks, which were actually the last Washington football team picks.
Yep.
So, out of those, let's start with our first round pick from last year. A lot of fans not happy with Jamin Davis. They weren't happy with the pick, and they weren't happy with his production on the field. JDR came out and said it was pretty much a failed season, right? Like he did not hold back in his comments saying he did not have a good season, wasn't great. Isn't that on Jack Del Rio? Isn't that on Ron Rivera that he didn't have a good rookie season? Or is this just Jamin Davis wasn't a good pick?
It absolutely is. And Corey is probably going to say that I am going to contradict myself because remember back when we played Baltimore in that third preseason game, right? Jamin Davis was treated like a starter, and he did not play any of that game. How did you expect him to learn? You can't learn if you're not in the game. You have to play. You have to take those bumps and bruises, just like a quarterback, right? A quarterback's not going to play until he starts to see a whole bunch of defenses and see what they can do. But we started taking some hits at the middle linebacker position, and now you want to put a square peg into a round hole. You want to play the young man out of position. You never said that you drafted him to play middle linebacker. You drafted him to cover backs. You talked about his speed. You talked about how he attacks things. But you want to put a square peg into a round hole and play him at middle linebacker. Not going to work.
No, I mean, he's got that sideline to sideline speed, but I mean, that is a huge jump for really this Davis only had the one good season, right? In college, he kind of exploded. He has great physical traits. And I think that if they would have let him play to those instincts, like you're talking about, where, you have him, attacking downfield, you have him covering the faster guys because he has some of that speed, then I think that he would have been, at least fine. But having him try to call the defense, having him try to sit there and assess plays and not just play with those instincts, he just really wasn't built for that. And I mean, you saw there was a couple of good explosive plays that he did have, especially down the stretch when he was only playing maybe, 20% of the snaps. But you can see why he was picked as high as he was.
I still like Jamin Davis. I think that he will have a better sophomore season than he did his rookie season. You'll have that film to look at. You know what to expect. You didn't have any changes in your coaching staff, so you know what they expect from you. So at that exit, they told him what they wanted him to work on. So if he worked on the things that they told him that he needed to work on, and he comes in ready, sharp, ready to go, he will do more of what we saw at the end of the year, which is react to what you're seeing and not think so much. And that's when we saw him play with speed and things like that. And I think we'll be better off for it this year.
Now let's move on from our esteemed number one pick there with Jamin Davis. Let's move over to Sam Cosmi. What did you like? What did you didn't? Is there anything you didn't like? Because I don't know. Me personally, I love those big boys playing on the line, and Sam Cosmi looks like an absolute stud.
First, okay. I am here in Texas, right? And I'm forced to watch the Texas Longhorns, college football. I got that package now, so I can watch anyone I want to watch. But there are a couple of games you don't miss, like the Red River Rivalry. And when I saw Sam Cosmi play and the things that he did in that game, I was like, okay, this kid can play. So I knew who he was. What I did not like was Morgan Moses being let go. But once I saw that the guy started into camp, when I knew that he stood up to Chase Young and Montez Sweat and got into fights with them, I was really excited then, because I was like, this guy can really, really go. I like the fact that he played well. We weren't worried about him. And then he got injured. Now we're looking at a real injury prone type guy, or, let's see how he bounced back this year. But I'm really happy with Cosmi, man. I'm really happy with him.
What would it take for him to be labeled as injury prone? What do you think it would take for him to miss another 3-4 games this season? Or
no.
Does he just one game and he's like, this guy's injury prone?
No. Remember, we're talking about the offensive line and defensive line. These guys get beat up. They fight in a phone booth, right? So when we start to get into that Brandon Sheriff type numbers, where you're missing 6, 7, 8 games in a year, right? And then you come back and has Brandon Sheriff played a full year in the NFL? I don't believe.
Yes, he has. He did miss 22 games over 4 seasons, is what I think it was.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Now, once we get there, now I'm like, come on, man. We're paying you to sit on the sideline. So I would rather, see him in there more than he's gone. Plus, that offensive line unit, they got to do like Jake said, like Big Joe Jacoby said, they got to all step at the same time. And so you can't do that when you're missing time. So,
yeah. The offensive line did hold up fairly well, even without Sam Cosmi. Hopefully they get him back because I do think they can be even more dominant, especially in the run game. And that might be important with some of them, that third round pick for Washington this year, which we'll get to in the game. Shout out to my mom, Kimber Perry's in the chat. EP is in the chat as well. And Commandalorian. Let us know what you think of the sophomores for the Washington Commanders. What do you expect from them? We've gone over the first two picks with Jamin Davis and Samuel Cosmi.
One more thing about Cosmi.
Cosmi?
Yeah.
I told you I like the big boys. So
I'm calling it right now. He is our next all-pro lineman. Like we just left off from, Brandon Sheriff was that guy, right? Cosmi is the next one up. Cosmi is going to be special for us. Jay Leno, he's holding it right now, right?
Yeah.
But it's Cosmi.
I was going to ask if you thought Leno there was going to be decent. I think that he'll be solid. I do think Cosmi has the tools to be special, and hopefully he can stay on for a full season because, like I said, the kid is a monster.
Mm-hmm.
The line is a bit of a patchwork too. So, you mentioned some of the people who've left before Cosmi. Now you got Brandon Sheriff who's gone. You've got Eric Flowers was kicked off. So it's going to be interesting to see this team. But I believe they have an offensive line coach who, honestly, probably in my opinion, maybe not quite Bugle's level, but is pretty darn good. So he's the fact that we went down to our fifth center and the line was still able to perform reasonably well, especially on the advanced statistics. I think that shows that you got some good coaching there. Yeah, Mandalorian says Cosmi is going to make or break our offensive season. It would be nice to see some runs over there to the right and have Cosmi lead or have him pull for whatever reason. Not that you pull tackles all that often, but he's got the speed to do it.
I like when he's out in front of screens. I do like that. So
let's move to our third round pick from last year. That was Benjamin St. Juste, a name that most people weren't familiar with. And then when they started seeing him play, I think there's some excitement there.
Yeah.
He got a concussion and ended up missing pretty much the entire last 2/3 of the season. Did he do enough for you to kind of submit himself as a regular roster player?
I got to say, if he did, we wouldn't have drafted so many corners and brought in so many corners, right? We wouldn't have done that. So now, especially when you're talking concussions, right? When you're talking concussions, I remember, I think it was Brian Mitchell said, as long as he didn't have any concussions or neck damage, that he was going to play. Mm-hmm. So it's to the point where can he stay on the field, protect himself, and contribute? Fred Smoot was talking about St. Juste being Rookie of the Year last year. Remember that, right? So we know that this kid has talent, and players know. Players know this person can do it or this person can't do it. So for me, I would love to see him come into this season the same way we talked about Davis, playing fast, knowing what's going on. Because, again, that same side of the ball, all coaches, the whole coaching staff is back. Everyone knows what they are expected of, what's expected of them. And I just want to see him stay healthy, stay on the field, and contribute. What I would call a successful year for him is probably going to be 3 interceptions and maybe take one of them back.
Wow. That's pretty lofty for both the second round pick and a kid who really hasn't played all that many games. I think that probably, honestly, I think a successful season for him, in my opinion. And I was pretty high on him last year, but I think for him this year, you're looking at just seeing the field, on those, on the sets where they're going to bring in that nickel corner and not being embarrassed. I think if he can do that, I think that'd be successful.
But will he be that nickel corner? Because look, we bought in a safety this year who they say is the best all around safety. So you have 20. Oh my God, what's his name? I'm about to say McLaurin.
McCain.
Bobby McCain. You got McCain.
Got him for cheap again.
Right. You got McCain. You have our guy, Cam, right? And then you got
Cam is special. He's good.
Yeah, and you got Butler, who's the natural safety. So what are you going to do? You're going to pull Bobby McCain off? Or you ain't pulling Cam off. They did that before. And then with the corner, if they bring him in because he's physical, and you could put Kendall in the slot, does he make the field? Maybe in dime packages, right? So he has to. I'm truly with you, but like I said, he should be playing fast, knowing where he needs to be, maybe to use some of his savvy to bait some of the quarterbacks and pick off a couple, So yeah, but I do agree with you. Contributing and playing the whole season.
I had to look it up. Cam Curl saw 79% of the snaps, so he was definitely on the field as much as possible. Benjamin St. Juste actually was 28.73% of snaps, a little bit higher than I was thinking that he was. He missed quite a few games.
Yeah, that's
for him to have still made that quarter mark of snap counts is, I think, pretty outstanding. So yeah, he played in 9 games and only started 3, and then there's a lot of special teams that he ended up playing as well. I think that he needs. You're right. Maybe not three picks with 1 bringing back, but he definitely needs to up that snap count and be effective. Whether or not it'll be interesting. I said it on your show last night, and I'll say I've said it quite a few times that third safety is more important than third linebacker. So when they pull it off, it's going to be a safety that's coming out there. But Benjamin St. Juste is a different built kind of corner there. So he is taller, he's lankier, he's got some speed. So we'll see what we can get out of that third round pick. Shout out to my man Kurt here in the chat. We're talking sophomore seasons. What do you expect from our sophomores, Kurt? Let us know here in the chat. Commander Lorian thinks JDR was right on the money assessing the team's mindset last year. They got drunk on their own hype. Overconfident. Now, after eating all that humble pie, they should be super hungry and focused.
Oh my God!
If
yes,
only,
they should.
Commander Lorian. If only. Oh man, this defense. I do think. You look at the first round picks. You look at the potential there with William Jackson III, and with Cam Curl, who's a 7th round pick, but it's been showing out. They really could be again a top 5 defense. But they went into last year thinking they were a top 5 defense, and they got smacked in the mouth, and they got smacked in the mouth hard.
Yeah.
And so hopefully this year they can actually live up to the hype. Maybe less talk from Chase Young and Montez Sweat there about breaking the sack record, the duo sack record, and actually breaking the duo sack record would be pretty nice as well. Let's move on to our last pick from last year that was in the top 100. This is one of the things pick that we talked here on the show about is if you can't really be labeled a bust if you're outside the top 100, you got to have that top 100 aspirations. So it's kind of because if you're a 7th rounder and you get you're on the practice squad, is that really a bust? I don't know that that's really a bust, right? So it's just like if you're a top 100 pick and you don't play well and you end up being, out of the league in a couple of years, that is bust potential there. And maybe this guy that we're going to talk about next, pick round 3, pick number 82 from last year. It's Dyami Brown, wide receiver out of North Carolina. Lots of people excited about him early on, really thought that he was going to just play very well for the team. Then Fitzpatrick goes down after like 10 plays. And you just don't see Dyami Brown making an impact at all. I personally feel like that was a little bit mixture of both the fact that he was a rookie and the fact that Taylor Heineke didn't have the arm to really get him the ball when he was opening up. How did you feel about Dyami Brown?
Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is
you look like you're the cat who ate the canary. You've been smiling during that whole thing. Like, yes. Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
I can't wait. Can't wait to jump in here. First off, let me say shout out to EP and Mrs. Perry. Thank you for raising such a fine young man. Now, let me get right on in here. Terry McLaurin was drafted in the 4th round, right?
Third. Terry's a third.
I'm sorry, Terry's a third. Terry's a 3rd rounder. I just looked at 4 years. 3rd rounder, lower than Diami, right? Around the same area.
Yeah, I'm going to double check here for you.
They were convinced that Terry was coming in to play special teams.
Yeah.
But Terry had a different mindset. I'm going to come play special teams, but I'm going to be a great wide receiver. And he came in, and Terry has not had the same quarterback every year, but he's made an impact. He's made himself a player on the field.
Available is one of them. And then he's also he's always open. 76 overall pick, by the way.
Terry.
So he was picked 6 picks ahead of where Diami Brown was.
6 picks. He's still in the top 100, and you caught 12 passes. You did not make any plays, but you made all the plays in college, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that's his confidence in himself, or are we as fans giving him an out, saying, "Oh, it's the quarterback's fault." Well, Terry caught 1,000 yard. He had 1,000-yard receiver last year.
One of the big pluses for Terry McLaurin when you're talking about him against players like AJ Brown, DK Metcalf is he performs regardless of who's there at QB, and he's had some stinkers.
The most important position on the field, this guy has not had consistency with. We will say that for Terry and give it a check up, but a receiver is a receiver for a reason. If it's in my area, I'm going to go catch it. And you only made yourself available for 12 catches. Yes, we as fans may say, hey, we see him running down the field and Taylor just doesn't have the arm to get it to him. Okay, but what about the crossing routes that he, didn't catch? What about the slants that he didn't catch? Because if we can't get it to you that way, we can give you a slant because Terry caught a slant and took it to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I don't know, man. I'm just not happy with Diami Brown. We have Carson Wentz now, a strong arm quarterback. So let's go. A really successful year.
Kurt mentioned that QB that can sling it might be the ticket, but isn't the wide receiver room getting a little crowded now? I mean, you just picked the number 1 pick this year to kind of do a lot of the same things that Diami was supposed to be a specialist at, right? So, that deep ball, catching those 50-50. Is he the odd one looking in?
Well, I tell you what, I would hate to be a defensive coordinator and see this lineup come at me. Terry, Curtis Samuel,
Jahan Dotson,
and Diami Brown.
Oh, you're going to put Diami in there, not Logan Thomas or Cole Turner.
If I put 4 wides on the field, right? And now let's put J.D. McKissick in the backfield. Who you doubling? Remember, we talked about this yesterday on my podcast. Now I'm dictating to you as a defensive coordinator, you're going to put your third safety on the field, or you're going to put your nickel or dime backer on the field, and that's who we're targeting, right? This is what's going to happen to the guy that every one of us wanted at safety from Notre Dame,
Kyle Hamilton.
Kyle Hamilton. Everybody wanted Kyle Hamilton, right? Kyle Hamilton is going to step on he's going to step on the field in the AFC for Baltimore. And if you look at their schedule, they are playing some monster quarterbacks this year. And they're going to say, hey, where's number 14 at? And that's where they're going to test them early and often. So if you put all that speed on the field for us, right? Look at the secondaries we're playing against. Look at how we feasted against the Giants last year, right? What are the Eagles going to do? They just cut Bradbury, right? They just cut Bradbury. What are they going to do? What is
Giants
Dallas?
cut Bradbury, right?
No, the Giants. The Giants cut Bradbury. What is Dallas going to do? Come on now. Number 7 can't be everywhere.
Yeah, well, he's overrated anyways, and I'll say that straight to our the Dallas fandom that is out there. That man is overrated.
Oh!
Caps score?
Caps just scored.
I got to put the game up over here to the left, but I do have some stats here. Diami Brown played in 15 games. He started 6 of those. You mentioned the 12 catches. That was only on 25 targets. That's not a lot of targets. He is a 3rd-round pick. It used to be wide receivers took 3 years. There was that was that magic number, right? That magic season was that 3rd season. I want to see. I was one of the ones who was very excited for De'Ami Brown. I want to see more. I do wonder. We're talking about the fact that Wentz can sling it, but here's the thing: he also likes bigger wide receivers. Is this where Cam Sims, comes to play? We're going to talk about during the game the Cole Turner as the 5th round tight end, who is just a 6'7" monster. Is De'Ami going to see enough targets? He saw 29% of the snaps last year, but he again only saw 25 targets. And with Jahan Dotson out there, again, I wonder if he's just going to be too far down on the depth chart to really make an impact. But I do like that. I do like that 4 wideout set that you brought up, because you just pretty much run that Madden play, right? Just everybody goes deep and Wentz just chucks it every game, every time.
Well, here's another thing too, right? With the addition of Jahan Dotson, don't forget about you still got Cam Sims, right? And then you still have McKissick that you could put out there too.
Yeah, so, McKissick is a good receiver. Gibson, especially with Robinson now in the fold, Gibson could be moved out there. I just don't know that there's going to be enough passes to go around. I'm going to look at Taylor Heineke's stats real quick and just add a few passes to that. Maybe, obviously, I don't know if they're going to necessarily hold Wentz to these numbers here, but he made 494 attempts, which actually I think is fair, right? If you're looking at 500 attempts, and a completion rating, hopefully in the mid to high 60s. So, is that going to be enough? I mean, you got to figure Terry McLaurin is going to see 130 of those 500, right?
Well,
that's what he saw last year was 130.
Remember our 4-game winning streak. During our 4-game winning streak, we rushed the ball more than we ran the ball. More than we passed the ball, right? Mm-hmm. So you cannot, if you take that out. Because at the beginning, they had this guy attempted like 40 plus passes. Like in the Denver game, I believe he had 40 something plus attempts, right? It's either Denver or the game before that, maybe Green Bay, but he's not that guy. And our formula was run the ball, which we did versus Tampa Bay. So I believe he had something like 20 pass attempts in that game right there. We had a 10-minute drive in the Tampa Bay game, right? So if that's Carson, maybe Carson gets about 25 to 30 passes, and we're more balanced with our run pass ratio. But for Taylor, when we went heavy run, we won the game, right? We won the game, and now and nobody respected our wide receivers. So this year, if you come out and you're coming at us and you don't respect our wide receivers, you want to load up the box because we have a sledgehammer now too. We will then bang you over the head and make you back up. We have a coverage dictator in Jahan Dotson, which if you put Jahan and De'Ami on the same side, you run one to the post and run one straight down. Whew.
With both of their speeds, yeah, it's going to be pretty good. So, Kurt, I agree with you, man. There's some options. We have a good problem here that there's finally some weapons here on this offense, and this is where I'm going to disagree with Toothpick on a little bit. I did say after this draft that Ron had a plan. After the 2022 draft here, Ron had a plan, and it was very clear. Stop the run and run the ball. You saw that with his 2nd overall pick. You saw that with his 3rd overall pick. And I think that's what we're going to talk about here in a little bit when we go to the game. Let's just finish up real quick. Those were the top 100 picks from last year. Any of the other picks from last year that you're expecting some decent or good things from?
Last year.
So I'll give you the names. John Bates in the 4th. You had Derek Forrest in the 5th. Cameron Cheeseman in the 6th. William Bradley King, who's been missing off of the team's page when it comes to the depth chart, which is pretty interesting. Shaka Toney, who I feel like has got it in because he's buddy with the rest of the defense there. So I think he might be seeing a little bit more play time. And he had Dax Milne also in the 7th. Well,
Dax is the one that has to take a big leap to make the field this year, right? But
I think if he didn't learn how to catch punts or return kicks, he might be headed to the practice squad because they did just pick up the punt returner from Cincy.
But he has to return a punt or a kick to secure a spot this year. But especially on the field as a wide receiver, he has to show something from that slot position to make them look
Kind of
somewhere
take over
else.
the Humphreys role, right?
Yeah,
Where Adam
he has
Humphreys
to
was.
embrace that role and love it. But my Penn Stater, Shaka Tony, is the one I'm expecting another big jump from. And the reason for this jump is this. The rotation now, our depth on our defensive line, him and William Bradley King, they should be into the rotation. This will keep Chase and Montez good for the end of the game and later into the season, the 18-game season. So you got to get those guys in. And Mathis, oh my God, that big dude, man. Listen,
they needed that rotation. We're going to get to Mathis here in a little bit. Shout out P4 and Tanner joining the chat as well. Shout out, I think, so Command This. That's Steve coming in from the Command This podcast. Check out their challenge as well. The Hawk TV brought up the collaboration between Ref the District here and First Stream.
What up, Hawk
Absolutely
TV?
Love to see it as well. Tyrone going, we're going to the Super Bowl, right? We're going to the chip. That's happening here. We'll see. We'll see coming up. We'll be talking schedule in the cool down coming up here, though. In the game, we're going to be talking about the rookies from this year. The game is brought to you by Pacers Running Stores. Pacers has 6 stores in Northern Virginia and DC. For the best running footwear, apparel, and gear, just stop by or schedule a virtual fitting with the best running experts in the business. Pacers Running exists to help as many people as possible through running. For every run, it's Pacers Running. Welcome back to the game. Now we're going to be talking. The rookie minicamp just happened. We got to see them and some Burgundy and Gold. Those helmets look amazing. Oh my Lord, I want one of those helmets, and I want it back here. EP, you hearing me? You're watching. I know you're watching. It would look really good with that Jonathan Allen signed jersey back there. Just going to put that out there. You have the Mandalorian helmet behind you. I've seen you wear it.
That's not dope.
Sorry. That's the Cobra Commander. Yeah, Cobra Commander. Yeah. Sorry. We have the Mandalorian in our chat here. He says our offense was more limited last year because the defense couldn't get off the field on third down. If the D gets off the field, our offense should feast on our opponents. Here's one thing I think is super underrated. The offense and the defense feed into each other, right?
Yeah, they do.
I know some people say this, but more people need to feel this, understand this. The better the offense is, the longer the defense gets to rest, and the better the defense will be, which will put the offense in positions to score. So we need them to kind of do better. You can't have games where the offense is balling out and the defense is stinking, or what happened quite a bit over the last couple of years. The defense was keeping the game close enough that the offense should win, and it just wasn't happening. Washington's offense has been pretty pitiful. They added some firepower here in this draft. First pick, that was what most of us wanted. I wanted Kyle Hamilton if he was there at 11. They traded back, and the thing I wanted more than Kyle Hamilton was an offensive playmaker, but you just couldn't pass up on a talent like Kyle Hamilton for some of the players that people were mentioning. Kyle Hamilton off the board, though, at number 14, and Jahan Dotson ends up being the pick at number 1. Toothpick, let's go over your reaction. How did that feel for you? First, let's go all the way back. I'm going to do the timeline thing I do with my boys here on Ref the District. Washington's on the clock. Kyle Hamilton's out there. Chris Olave's out there. Jamison Williams is out there. How are you feeling as the clock was ticking down and Washington's about to make that pick at 11?
I believed it was Chris Olave. Oh, no. Oh, Olave went next. I believed it was going to be Chris Olave, but then the trade came in. We moved back. And then New Orleans takes him. Yeah. And
surprised us on at FedEx. Like, we just could not believe. A lot of people were chanting, like, when they traded back, Trev was upset. He was not part of team trade back. And then they thought Washington trades back and they're still going to get Chris Olave, and then he's gone.
Yeah. Well, I understood the trade I knew what we needed. I like that. I like that right there.
That one's good.
Yeah.
Metaphor here with Jahan Solo, reception smuggler from a galaxy far, far away.
Yes, I like that.
Love it.
I just thought we were going to get a lot of it. I knew of Jahan Dotson for two reasons. One, I watch Big Ten football, Maryland. My wife is from Ohio, so I watch Ohio State. And this guy straight murdered Denzel Ward. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Denzel Ward was coming out number one corner.
He was highly, highly ranked.
And he went out there and just did him dirty. And if it wasn't for Terry McLaurin in that block that freed up Campbell, or was it Campbell or Samuels? It was one of them. They would have lost that game, right? Terry took out 4 people in a block, and the guy scoots down the road. So I knew of this kid. And me and my son, we looked at each other. We said the same thing that we said about Saquon Barkley. This guy's going to be a problem. We got that problem now.
He's not our problem, I guess.
No, but that's what I'm saying is other teams are looking like, oh, this guy's a problem. Man, I liked the pick. I understood what was happening. But when I dug deeper into him, because I was stuck on Chris Olave, I was stuck on Garrett Wilson, and then if it wasn't him, Drake London is who I was looking at as well. But then I looked back and I was like, oh my God, that's right. This kid didn't drop any passes. He dropped 3 passes his whole football season last year. And if you can't respect that, that means that he concentrates on his catches. He got better in his route running. There are still things he needs to improve, but he's coming in to help us right away. So I was very excited about the pick. And this goes back to De'Ami Brown. With all of the things that these kids do between high school, or not even in high school, 7-on-7 passing camps. Right now, there's a high school like literally across the street from me. The wide receivers, running backs, they're out there practicing now. I'm in Texas. Texas loves football. Mm-hmm. So these wide receivers are coming in and they're bursting on the scene. Watch this year. There's going to be some freshmen in Big Ten, SEC, ACC, Pac-12, whatever. They're going to burst onto the scene as a freshman because these guys practice so much route running. And the defense can't touch them. Don't forget that part too. Defenses can't touch the guy. So
yeah, his feet, the footwork on him is just outstanding. And I'm going to shout out P-Dub here. What's up? It's Commander West showing up here. And I'm going to pull up this. Steve, I'm not happy about this comment here. And I'd also disagree with you. Command This Podcast. This is Steve from the Command This Podcast. Unpopular opinion. Dotson is Terry's replacement after they franchise Terry next year and he moves on. No, I think a deal gets done. What do you think, Vic?
I did this on First String Podcast. We went with the 4 guys who were up. We went with Deebo Samuels, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, and Terry, right? And we did tag. We did sign, trade, or tag, right?
Nice.
We traded DK, right? And he's still out there. He may not get signed. We traded DK. Traded AJ Brown, signed Deebo, and signed Terry. Right? Terry's getting done. Now, the problem with the deal is this. Had we done the deal 2 months ago, it would have been about 23, 24 per.
Maybe even cheaper.
Right. But AJ Brown just signed for 25 per. If you look at their numbers and you go back and you look at their numbers, the only person that has more receiving yards than Terry is AJ Brown. AJ Brown's the only one. So you got to sign him. He's signing for 25 plus. The longer Terry waits, the more money he gets. We're not losing Terry. But you still got to keep in mind because Deron Payne's going to play his butt off this year. He's going to cash in. He's going to play his butt off and cash in, and we're going to make the smart choice of signing Terry and drafting Deron Payne's replacement again. Well, we already got one replacement, but his backup next year. So
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting as far as that's concerned. I don't think Dotson's going to be the replacement for Terry. I think if anything, you're probably going to see Curtis Samuel play out his 3 years, and Curtis Samuel's going to be the one who's going to be moving on.
Yep.
And that's fine. I think that Curtis Samuel's a great wide receiver, and I think he should be a solid number 2. If he were healthy last year, wasn't healthy. Now you got someone like Jahan Dotson to pair with Terry McLaurin. Terry is a little bit older than some of those other wide receivers who are due for some deals, but he is too important to this team. And I'm not just saying that because his jersey's literally hanging right behind me. But he is a part of the rebrand, right? He's a part of everything that is part of it. Steve's going on here saying that they should have signed him when early on. And that's probably true. I mean, Christian Kirk was the first one to go, and that was just an insane deal. Stupid deal. Stupid deal. Every wide receiver who was looking for a payday was so thankful that Kirk got such a good deal there. And AJ Brown deal. I mean, Ron talked about it. He said that, they're 2 different players. It's not going to be the same. Deal's going to get done. Jahan Dotson is going to be a special player. What's going to be successful? We had some of the guys on our Twitter account talking about how some fans won't be happy unless he gets 17 touchdowns. To which we quipped back like that's the baseline, right? But 5 to 7 is probably more realistic. What do you think when it comes to that?
I like to see 8 to 10.
8 to 10 touchdowns, really?
8 to 10, because listen, with the attention going away from him to the speedy guys, right? Because before we didn't have anybody that dictated, Terry would get double teamed, but he can beat anybody one-on-one. So if Diami comes out and catches a deep pass in the first quarter, and then now Jahan Dotson comes out and catches a deep pass in the second quarter, now you put them 2 on the same side, you got Terry one-on-one on the other side, and Terry can make anybody pay, right? So he's not getting caught from behind, and some crazy angle or whatever may happen. But I would like to see him with 8 to 10, because remember that conversation last year: is Terry top 10 wide receiver?
Okay, so you're talking 10 for Terry McLaurin. I was talking Jahan Dotson. I was thinking 10.
Oh no,
10 touchdowns for Jahan Dotson. That's pretty steep.
Bad.
We're talking rookies as far as I try to get us back on track to the rookies because we detoured.
We take it off.
The comments brought us there for Terry's contract. I think he has to hit double-digit TDs, and I think if he does, then I think that more people will put him in the echelon that Washington fans put Terry McLaurin, right? We think that he's a top 15. If he gets double digits plus 1,200 yards, I think that people will start to respect his name. But on Jahan Dotson,
5.
So if I set it at 4.5, you're taking the over?
I'm taking the over. I'm taking 5.
But if I did 5.5, you'd take the under.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. If First String Podcast, they love to do the bets. So I had to throw in that over under there for him.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, the reason I can see 5 is because I'm just saying it's so many balls to go around, right? You got Curtis Samuels who should be healthy. You got J.D. McKissick who should be healthy. You got Terry who's gonna be healthy. Our other rookie that we're going to get to, Cole Turner, that's a red zone target right there. That's a red zone target. So if you get
Logan Thomas when he's healthy is 6'5", another red zone target.
Right. So those people are going to take away from that rookie, but we're going to get that rookie going. I say 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns, somewhere about 50 balls.
Okay, that's not too bad. I think average targets for the wide receivers from 2018 first round wide receivers, were targeted I think 70 times, caught 31 passes was the average. Steve's got a run from Command This. Make sure you check out the Command This podcast. That's a rebrand from the Washington Football Addicts. Shout out to him and the $2 donation through the super chat. Of course, we always appreciate anybody who uses the super chat. We appreciate the support and love the interaction that we get, even if you don't necessarily pay to do it. Jahan Dotson, I'm going to throw out here like this. I expect 735 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think that's what we're looking at. And I think honestly, if that's what he gets, but here's the bigger thing. I think if Carson Wentz throws for 30 plus touchdowns. I don't care who's catching them.
Right.
I don't care if Jahan Dotson only catches 3 or 2 or 1. If he throws for 30, it probably means that the offense is cooking, and that's just a good thing for Washington.
Right.
But yeah, I just feel like you brought up a lot of things, right? There's bigger there's bigger targets for when we're in the red zone. We had Metaphor bring up Robinson, who we'll be getting to a little bit later.
Yep.
You know, they're going to be running the ball. Gibson scores at a huge clip. That's one of the things that he's been very successful at, is scoring touchdowns. Now you're going to have Robinson on top of that. They're going to be a very effective, hopefully, a very effective team in the red zone. And I just don't know that Jahan Dotson's necessarily going to get that based off of his size. But then again, Terry McLaurin, he's not too far off from Terry McLaurin's size. And Terry can score from anywhere as well. So it'll be interesting, but that's my guess. 735 and 3 touchdowns. You're going on the over for the TDs. What about the 735 yardage? What do you think for that? Do you think that's reasonable? You said 50 catching, 50 passes. That's, 50 for 735. Is that fair enough?
I'll take that down to about 6 something.
6 something?
Yeah, about 6 something. Oh, they're in danger. Question:
Caps in danger.
How many? I could look this up while you go on to the next one. But Deshaun Jackson's rookie year, right? Because that's who everyone compares him to, right? Is Deshaun?
That's one of the ones that they're bringing up.
Right.
They also bring, some people have brought up Steve Smith Jr. You've had a lot of Santana Moss is another name that keeps being brought up as well. Deshaun Jackson, his rookie season, he had 62 receptions for 912 yards and only 2 touchdowns.
And his running mate, I believe, was I can't say his last name right now. Started with him at Macklin, Jeremy Macklin. Right?
Yeah, I loved Macklin. He was so good.
He had Macklin, but Deshaun Jackson, with all that top end speed, only had 2 touchdowns, is what I'm hearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two touchdowns. And Terry's not a Macklin. He's better than Macklin, in my humble opinion. Who am I? I'm just a podcaster with their own opinion. That's all I am.
Just a fan.
That's all I am, right? And so I think I'm not saying he's better than Deshaun Jackson, but if he gets 5 touchdowns, man, just call me Nostradamus.
I actually wasn't even Macklin for there. If you want to actually look at their rushing and receiving, it looks like they had Reggie Brown, L.J. Smith, Hank Baskett is a name I haven't heard in a long time.
That's
right. Kevin Curtis, Jason Avant. These were the other people. So not a whole lot of mouths to feed on that particular offense. So maybe a little bit more targets came out his way than might be coming out for Jahan. But I mean, I still think that that's still, like I said, pretty solid here when you're talking the stats for Deshaun that I brought up. 120 targets. That's probably a little high for what I expect for Jahan. 62 receptions. We're talking about being in the 50 range. So I think 735 where with 50 catches and two to 3 touchdowns, I think that's a really good rookie year based off on the fact that we're expecting this offense. One of the things that I think Scott Turner does want to do is he wants to spread the ball around. He's not going to necessarily, we have these targets. And so that's something I think that we'll, see here. Metaphor bringing up the vertical of Jahan Solos. Really love that name, by the way. We need someone to do a mock-up of that. We need someone to do, get him maybe for Halloween. We'll see that one happen. Jahan Solo's 36-inch vert makes him a 6'4" receiver compared to the big boys at tight end and their hops. You're not wrong. And he catches, he attacks the ball, right? He does several things well that I think fans should be excited about. His route running being one of them. His speed is great as well, but he attacks the ball. He doesn't wait for the ball to come to him. That's one of the things that I've been kind of upset with Terry, is that he does a lot more body catching than I would like to see. Jahan Dotson just absolutely tries to dominate that ball. Let's move on to the other picks that we had there. You brought up Phidarian Mathis. This has been a big topic. A lot of people were upset with this. I've brought up several times here. They had to replace the 55% of snaps that they just lost and Matt Ioannidis. You also add in the Tim Settle snaps that were missing as well. I think that it was just a smart value pick with the second overall pick there at 47. Not what I expected. Did not expect them to go defensive tackle, but after looking at what they really needed and his play, Phidarian Mathis's playability, I'm not necessarily upset.
Well, this one is the one that surprised me. I was thinking at this point in time, linebacker, safety. I really like the safety out of Baylor. I believe he was still on the board right now at that point in time. So I was expecting something. No, was he on the board? I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and look. But I was expecting to go in a different direction. I wasn't expecting to go there. And now that I look and see what he does as I dug into him a little more, he's a run stopper. We have a terrible run defense, right? Mm-hmm. Not to mention that, linebackers are getting jumped on. This guy is not going to be moved. Allen, Payne, they both get moved in the run. So on first downs, this is where I expect him to make his money at this year. Second and third down, I expect John Allen and Daron Payne in the game, causing havoc. But I think you're going to stop everything in the middle and let a linebacker try to flow. So I'm looking forward to him.
Some improved linebacker play would be nice, but Mathis up there, taking up a couple of blockers, letting those linebackers get in there would be pretty good. Tommy T, shout out to you in the chat here. Mentions that Phidarian Mathis can play nose as well.
Right.
One of the things that this defense does love to run is that 5-man front. And seeing Mathis in the center, you bring Allen and Payne on either side, and then you've got Sweat and Chase Young on the flanking there. That's a pretty intimidating front five. Hopefully they'll be able to get to the quarterback, stop the run, do what they need to do to be successful.
I don't want to see that 5-man front.
I don't like the 5-man front?
No, I want the 4-man front. I want 2 linebackers. I want that third safety in there.
That's good. I think that's fair. I think when they run the 5-man front, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's a 5-1 or is it 5-2 as well?
I'll put Paulie on that because he was the guy that he tracked that for us. But literally, man, that 5-man front just you're trying to get it can work, but it's definitely something risky. You have to get to the QB here. Kevin brings up the thing that actually I was upset with, and I think we put out my video of my self not being happy with the Phidarian Mathis pick because I wanted Brisker. I thought Brisker was the smart pick. I will say I have come along with Percy here in the 4th, so that's pretty good. Shout out Garrett in the chat. Tommy T does correct me. It is a 5-2. So 5-2. Yeah.
So they're only running the 2 linebackers. They're not running. So they're running that in place of a linebacker, and then they're running the same DB set they would normally. Metaphor bringing up that wanted Brisker, then get a defensive tackle in the 4th, especially if you're looking for a run stopper, right? That's right. Something you can get in there. Garrett Thomas is G from the shop. Yeah, there you go. G from the shop joining us here in the chat as well. Let's move on to our last pick within the top 100 for this year. That was Brian Robinson Jr., another pick that surprised me. I figured they were going to pick a running back. I did think running back was a need. Now, my wife might come down here and kill me because she loves Jarrett frickin' Patterson, but he just wasn't really what Washington was looking for. They get somebody who is I think has a better skill set overall in Robinson. What do you expect from him this first season?
I expect him not to put the ball on the ground. I expect him to come in, not a pass catcher, not our pass catching, but what I expect is red zone and 3rd and short. 3, 2, 1. That's what I expect from him. Patterson, they tried to do that with him last year. Remember, a lot of short down yardage. They tried to put Patterson in. That was maybe a little late in the season, but he didn't get it done. So Robinson's a bigger body. He protects the ball well. And remember, we benched Gibson a couple of times last year for putting the ball on the ground, and Gibson had a bad habit of putting the ball on the ground when we needed him to
six
protect
times
the ball.
last year.
Yep.
That he did bounce back from those. Every time he was benched, he came back and he played with some passion. I think that's pretty good. Now I showed up that comment there from Steve from Command This Podcast. Which one is the odd one out? I do think it's got to be Patterson, right? You figure the 3-man back situation is going to be Gibson, then Robinson coming in on the first couple downs, and then you have J.D. McKissick as your third down back. Do you see it going differently?
No. I see. Just like you said, McKissick is the third down back, mixing Robinson in there every now and again, keeping some of that wear and tear off of Gibson because he is, he's been hurt, foot, everything. He's been hurt. He gets banged up when he's not running behind his pads. So I think this literally was a wake up call for Gibson as well too. Get your stuff together. And if anybody's not working really hard like he should be this year, number 8, is he wearing number 8? Number 8's going to be the replacement for number 24.
Now Gibson he had 1,000 yards rushing last year. He's had 18 touchdowns in his 2 seasons with Washington. Does he crack the 10 touchdown mark this year? He cracked it technically both years, 11 rushing his rookie year, and then 7 and 3 rushing and receiving touchdowns last year. Does he crack 10 touchdowns overall?
Gibson?
Yeah.
No. Because
you think Robinson's really going to eat into it that
steal
much?
Some of those. He's going to steal some of those goal line carries. He's going to take some of those goal line carries from him. So no, he doesn't. The only way I see it is if he breaks long runs and doesn't get caught inside the 10 or and anything inside the 5. Robinson's coming in. That's a hammer, man.
A lot of people expect him to kind of take that Peyton Barber role where running 2 yards on a 3rd and 3. But I had to get that one out there. I'm sorry. Hopefully Robinson's a little bit more effective, but we'll see. We'll see what it is. Shout out again to G from the Shop, Ref the District, great podcast. Keep it up. Appreciate you, man. We also have Gunny, who
is Pauly.
Pauly didn't like my comment that we got to cut a running back. So he says, F you, Nathan. They keep in 4 running backs. Shout out to Pauly as well. Metaphor agrees. Is Gibson's going to lose some touches here in this backfield. I honestly think that might be great for Gibson because I think that they might be able to use him as a receiver in the same way that they use J.D. McKissick. I think keeping him fresh might be he can hit home runs, right? That's what he was known for. The guy touched the ball 33 times at Memphis and scored how many touchdowns and ran how many yards? The guy is very explosive. So hopefully this pick here with Robinson in the 3rd round this year will get Gibson, some more exciting plays for Washington. What do you think the stat line though is going to be for Brian Robinson this year? If over under 8.5 touchdowns,
I'm gonna go under.
You're gonna go under. What are you expecting from him?
I'm expecting maybe 5 to 6 touchdowns. Maybe 1 receiving touchdown. Rushing touchdowns 5 to 6. Maybe 1 receiving where they, instead of handing them the ball, they just drift them out. All the linebackers are sucking in, and you hit them on a little something on the side out the backfield because he can't catch. And then you got to remember, these Alabama running backs, they come into the league after waiting their turn, and they get stronger in the league, right? So
I do think Robinson came in with still I think he was one of the running backs this rookie year with 5 was in the top 5 for touches for the running backs that were selected. So he actually did see a little bit more play than others, but he didn't see a troubling amount of play because you want your running backs to have experience, but you don't want them have them been run into the ground already because the league only gets harder and that's going to be very interesting. Metaphor, very bullish on Robinson here. 10 touchdowns, taking that over on what I put it at 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah, 7.5. He's taking the over. I think I would also. I would probably take the under, but I'm not as confident in that. I can see a world where he gets to 8, but I think that you're still going to be able to use Gibson. I think that with Carson Wentz there, especially if he's given some free reign to Audible, then he might take the opportunity to hit Logan Thomas, Cole Turner, Terry McLaurin, or even Jahan Dotson there playing, with his fancy footwork. So it'll be interesting to see where he does land Brian Robinson. But I do think it was a fairly solid pick there. And I love picking back JD in this mix, but I do think he's actually the one who's probably going to see even less touches. You're going to see him more as just that third down back. You're going to see him spread out wide as a wide receiver, which is great, but you're not going to see him running through the tackles, which I think that he was somewhat productive when they had that, but largely because if you see J.D. McKissick out there, you're figuring it's going to be a pass play.
But his draws were pretty special as well.
His draws were special.
Yeah. So that's going to work.
Tommy T bringing up the fact that the end of last season, they struggled when missing JD and Gibson, that Robinson is some insurance. That's fair enough. Yep. We'll move on pretty quickly here through the last picks as far as we'll talk probably pretty heavily about Percy Butler here right now, because both of us agree that third safety is so important, I think, in defenses now here in the NFL. And Percy Butler looks really good.
Now, Butler is going to be the one that did it. So y'all might as well get that ready. The Butler did it. Now, free safety, with all the struggles that we had on the back end, I think that this kid is going to come in and he is going to show that he knows his responsibilities, he understands what's going on, and he's not going to get beat over the top. Most natural free safety in the draft, and the Butler is for real going to do it. Mm-hmm.
So for our safety play last year, you're looking at Bobby McCain, who saw 93% of the snaps. He's back this year. Then you had Cam Curl. I mentioned he played 79% of the snaps. And I'm looking for our man here. Landon Collins played 60% of the snaps. DeShazer Everett was in there for 3%. Derek Forrest was in there for 2%. It's not really a factor for that. Troy Apke, thank God, was never in there as a free safety. He saw himself some special teams play. Jeremy Reeves coming in late in the season after some injuries, saw 17% of the snaps. What percentage of the snaps do you think for Percy Butler his rookie season?
I'm going to put him I'm going to say he's going to be third, because if we don't bring back Landon, right, now you're going to have that big Buffalo nickel spot available, and you can move McCain over, put Cam Curl down to that big nickel, and you can bring Percy on as the free safety, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the third. That's how I see that three safety rotation working out. The only thing that would probably go against that is if you bring Holmes on, right, and then you just take McCain all the way out, and then it goes up. So I'm saying somewhere about 50 to 60%.
Metaphor agrees with you here. He put it at 50%. Bullish on Robinson, bullish on Butler. I have to agree, right? I this third safety is so important. Mm-hmm. You've got wherever they're going to line up, whatever they're going to do, McCain, Curl, and Butler here, however they want to line them up. I do think Butler gives them some flexibility. He can play cover. You mentioned the fact that he's a true free safety. Cam Curl's definitely more of a strong safety. He would be excellent in that Buffalo nickel. But I think Percy Butler can also play that Buffalo nickel in a lot of ways, because he is so fast running downfield, right? Like if you're having him attack the ball, you put in that Buffalo nickel to kind of do those short yards plays to catch those running backs, to be able to run with the running backs and some of the quicker tight ends. So I really like him moving in both those areas. You're right. It's going to be dependent on whether or not the team does pick back Landon Collins. I'm hearing some smoke in that, mm-hmm. that the team is okay with him coming back and he's, after testing the market, realizes maybe he's not worth as much as he thought he was, might come back to the team. That might play in there. But I think having 4 safeties of that caliber is a good thing for Washington with the defenses that they like to run. So I'm excited about seeing him hit the field. We'll see if he hits that 50% snap count that we're talking about.
David said Fuller can play safety too, but you got to think this, right? If we go to a sub package, right? Let's say nickel. Let's say we go to big nickel and we bring another corner and a safety on, take a linebacker off, and however we get this done, you can then push Fuller into the slot where he's really good at, right? You can put him at the slot instead of putting him back at safety and taking the young man off the field, or even bringing back Landon. If you bring back Landon Collins, you could still probably put him on the field too, as well. So you're just starting to get that going, because Landon doesn't have much tread left on that tire as well.
No.
And Bobby McCain, you got to figure he's on a 1-year deal now, right?
Yeah, or I think it might be a 2-year deal, but it's pretty cheap. Yeah, they got him for really cheap.
So we can start that process up early of getting this guy on the field, because he's played in college with a lot of experience. So yeah.
Kevin's calling a shot here. 20% for Percy Butler when we move Fuller to safety because we signed Bradbury. Fingers crossed. A lot of people think that Washington should sign Bradbury. Where do you stand on that there, Pick?
I'm going to say it all goes to disrespecting Terry McLaurin. He's been a perfect citizen, but if you bring another person in here and you sign them to, let's say he does sign a deal for $12 million per, well, that's money that put him with Terry.
He can't be that expensive, can he?
Well, he just got cut for $12 million.
Yeah, but he's because he's not worth $12 million.
Right. So, I mean, he's not going to take $10 million for 2 years. That's not happening. He's going to scoop boot to the next team. But a 1-year deal, probably $6 to $8 million. And if you sign him for 3 to, let's say, 4 years, that's money you're taking away from Terry. I don't think that's
fair.
happening.
Maybe it's just a 1-year prove it deal. They've been known to do that. And big important factor here for Terry McLaurin's contract is they can work it so it doesn't necessarily hit against the cap this year. They can load it on to the cap next year. So maybe a 1-year deal where that all hits here and Terry's deal is longer. We'll see. I'm okay pulling on. I'm good with stock and good talent, right? I don't think you can go in there having Torrey McTyer, as much as we liked him here on Ref the District. We interviewed his dad. I think that, he's a great person, and he's a good football player, but you want great football players.
Right.
And plus he got injured. So you gotta, as much as this is a passing league, getting somebody of Bradbury's talents would be nice to have. So we'll have to see what happens with that. All right, filling out the rest of the draft here: Sam Howell, Cole Turner, Chris Paul, Christian Holmes. Out of those 4, which one do you think is going to have an impact within their first? Give them 3 seasons, because realistically, these are round 5 and later picks. They might not even see the field.
I'm going with Cole Turner. Pass catching tight end. Look at what they're doing. I mean, look. I'm not comparing him in no way, shape, or form to these guys, but just look at the tight ends from Kansas City. I'm not saying he's that, but look at what pass catching tight ends can do. And this is a pass catching tight end. He's a big target, and he played with Carson Strong in Nevada. Come on now, y'all see Carson Strong tore it up, and everybody was talking about,
Cole
if his knee wasn't there.
Cole Turner didn't quite get the separation, and that's the big reason why I think he dropped to the 5th round. But he is a big target. He did look pretty fast in the videos that they're showing from minicamp, but he's also running against air, so it's a little hard to tell comparatively how fast he actually is. But when you're 6'7", you don't necessarily have to be faster than the guy next to you. You just have to be able to box them out. So you'll probably hear a lot of those basketball terms when it comes to Cole Turner. I have to agree. Out of all of them, he's probably the one who's going to see the field the most often these first few seasons. second best scenario for Sam Howell is we don't see him play, right? The best
Don't
scenario
want to see
for
Sam first.
we don't want to see it,
Best
right?
scenario. Don't want to see him at all.
No,
Red shirt.
Best scenario, Toothpick. You got to be honest with yourself. Best scenario for Sam Howell is he's the next Tom Brady, right? That's the best case scenario. Now, but realistically, and this is where the second best scenario comes into play for Sam Howell, is he just becomes a very good backup, maybe like Huntley just up the street here in Baltimore, where people want him and are willing to give up resources for him. That would be the second best scenario. But we'd never see him on the field because Carson Wentz panned out and is the QB for the next decade for the Burgundy and Gold. That's the second best scenario. Obviously, again, first case scenario is, again, he's Tom Brady. But realistically, that's probably not going to happen, especially because my man doesn't eat steak.
Oh, yeah.
Not hashtag not my QB1. No, teasing. I don't care whether or not he eats steak or not. I mean, the man does eat chicken tenders at like a steak restaurant. So I might judge a little bit, but I'm not going to judge him that harshly for his food choices. But I liked him. I thought that he was going to be taken in the second. So I thought there's some value there coming out in the fifth. But I think if you're looking at those four, Cole Turner has the opportunity to actually score touchdowns and have impact. Now, the other one out of these four that I think has a strong chance at playing on this team for a long time is going to be Chris Paul. And I'm not talking that man down in Phoenix. Who's ready to fight. Who's ready to fight 14-year-olds. We're talking about the guard out of Tulsa, with pick number 230. He, I mentioned I like the big men in the trenches, and I love grabbing them in these late rounds because you can get some really good value. And I think that he's going to be good value, especially mentioned that offensive line coach that we have. Quality there. I think that we're going to have some good things here. And we'll see. We mentioned this, Gerard. I think that they're going to look at him, but they have to cover those costs is what Pick is saying, is they have to be able to pay Terry. That's going to be the big thing here. Hey, gents, we are wrapping up the talk here with our picks this year. When we come back for the cool down, we're going to be talking just very briefly about the schedule for the upcoming season coming up here on the cool down. Want to give a shout out to all of those people in the chat sticking with us. Let us know what you think of the upcoming season. Is there any game that you're looking forward to? That's the big thing, right? That's full schedule drops. There's been some leaks. I haven't actually paid attention because there's a lot of misinformation going out there. But then there's some, like, they've already given up, officially they've given out 10 games or something like that. Washington not necessarily amongst those. And there's some rumor, Toothpick, it's going to be another Thanksgiving game. However, it's not against the team we'd want to play on Thanksgiving. It's against, maybe that makes for a happy Thanksgiving, though, right? Against Detroit, at least you can just put a W right in the books right then and there.
No, not for me, because games we're traveling to this season: Indianapolis, Detroit, and Houston. So that Detroit game being on Thanksgiving, if that is fact, would be a bummer because
you don't want to spend your Thanksgiving.
Cooking. Yeah, I like my wife's cooking, and I mean that's for. Just think about this, right? That's a terrible travel because you're hustling and bustling to get up to Detroit on the worst travel day of the year. So I don't want that. I don't want to have to deal with that. But I would think I would just skip that game, stay home. And
pull a metaphor here because you can't wait to watch the Lions Thanksgiving game while making turkey and GF stuffing.
Yeah. But
man. It's gonna be tasty. It's gonna be really good. Don't forget, World Cup is around that time. It's gonna be England versus the USA on the Friday after Thanksgiving. I'm gonna be at a pub in DC with my brother watching that game. But obviously I'll be watching our Washington Commanders on Thanksgiving if they play. That one, I love when they play on Thanksgiving. It should be against the Cowboys. It's not likely going to happen if you look at the rumors. What other games? You brought up some of the away games you're going to go see. So if you cross out Detroit, you brought up Houston, and what was that other one? Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Ooh, so Indianapolis has got to be a good one.
Right. So why Indy? Because I would love to see Carson Wentz go back there and just
shut them up.
Go
good Another goal. Yeah.
Another.
So for those who might not be paying attention, if you look back there on Terry McLaurin's jersey on Toothpick side, he is watching the game, and a metaphor called him out for it. Look at Toothpick watching Caps hockey in the background. You love to see it. If I didn't have stats on my other screen here, I would have the Caps game on. Absolutely. In fact, when I finish to edit this and put this up on audio platforms, I will have that Caps game up here to my left. Grayson Roberts, this is what I always look forward to in the schedule. This to me is the most important part here. Grayson wants to see when the bye is. Mm-hmm. You don't want an early bye, right? Nope. That week 4 bye is awful. You also don't want that week 14 bye. Nope. That's just as bad. There's so many games back to back. If you can get week 8, week 9, week 10, that's the sweet spot somewhere in there. And hopefully Washington can get one of those, and we'll see how it goes when it comes to that. Houston would be another good game for you. Yeah, the division games are good. Last year, the 5 games back to back, I don't think they're going to do that again. Hopefully it'll be 2 within the first 5 weeks, 2 somewhere in the middle, and then the 2 to close out the season are fine. But five I think was too much, but it did put it as a kind of a round robin play there for the NFC East, which could be another close division this year.
Without a doubt. Houston, I mean, maybe we just picked a bad year to go down there, but I'm looking forward to a victory down there. I would like
to tell everyone whether or not Mill's neck is as long as it looks in all the photographs. Did they set up a giraffe feeding station for him?
Got to check that neck out, see what's going on with him. But it's just one of the stadiums we got to cross off. So, but as far as the home games, of course, the Cowboy games and Atlanta because of said. So.
That's fair. Yeah. I got to catch a game with Blink. That'd be pretty exciting as well. Again, let us know in the comments where you want. It looks like Tommy T might be spoiling. Is this a spoiler? Is he ahead?
Scored 3-0. No, they just scored. They just scored.
They just scored.
Didn't get a chance to show. Go for. Yeah.
Capitals are up 3-0. We're going to close it out here. We appreciate everyone jumping in the chat and talking with us today, going over sophomore expectations and rookie expectations. A little bit on the schedule here at the tail end. We're going to watch some Caps hockey. You need to make sure that you've liked this video. Subscribe to my channel here, Ref the District. Stoner will be gone again next week. Hopefully Trev will have time. He'll jump on us with us next week. We want to appreciate Toothpick here from First String Podcast for jumping on this week as the temporary Trevor, or the Stoner stand-in, as I'll call him, and taking place and doing wonderful stuff here on it. Toothpick, why don't you tell us tell everyone listening right now where they can find you?
All right, you can find us on Twitter at Toothpick74 and a First String Podcast on Twitter. And our YouTube channel is First String Podcast, just like it is right there. We will be on tomorrow, like 15 minutes before the schedule reveal. And our normal shows are 8 o'clock on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
All right. Catch them out. Make sure you subscribe to First String Podcast. And until next time, be a fan.
We love Washington, and we some die-hard fans. Yeah, we are. You know we keep it on 10. Let's talk about the offense. 1, 2, 3, let's go. And they gifted. We are Ref the District. Podcast. Come on now and join us.